Hello and welcome to episode 452 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, a place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. My name is Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is the creator of the comic series Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And the audio listeners aren't going to get this, but he looks like a rugby fan this week. But is he? Let's find out by asking Tony Esmond.
Hello. I used to play quite a lot of rugby at quite a good standard.
Oh,
Really?
excellent.
Yeah. And then when I thought, when I started working, I thought I'll join the team that the big company I worked for had.
Yeah.
And I went down there all fucking enthusiastic, and all they wanted to do was stick pickled gherkins up each other's asses and drink pints of vomit and stuff. You know what rugby players are like?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And I thought, I'll leave this.
Grim.
So I haven't played since, to be fair. But I used to like playing rugby, yeah.
You look like
Yeah.
someone who loves a good scrummage.
Yeah. I like to be in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right in the middle.
Right. Were you a hooker?
Yeah, it was.
Thought so. Welcome to the show, everyone. It is a get the theme tune ready because it's a Three Amigos show this week.
Yes.
Yes, it's just Vince, Tony, and Dan here to put the world to rights in terms of comics. We've got a couple of fun topics to talk about.
Fun
this week.
topics.
We got a great drawing from Cole Henley on the Slack as the Three Amigos.
Yeah. Early shout out there. Cole Henley, thank you
Top
very,
work.
He's
very
coming
much.
up later. He's coming up later in the shout-outs for another reason. Yeah.
So we got sort of plenty of great recommendations, as always. It's going to be weird. We've had a few guests on, so normally we have a quick beginning, don't we?
Yeah.
But this week we got...
There was a sort of excited energy about us previously with some of the guests, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, last week's was fucking amazing.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone that obviously listened and... spread the word about the show.
Yeah. Do that, guys.
Yeah,
Don't just
retweets
take
are really
it for granted.
appreciated. And
Do
sharing
spread
it
the
and
word.
stuff.
Yeah,
We worked hard on last week's one, actually, and some nice comments from people I respect as well, too, saying it went okay, it went well. Few. We didn't say boobs too many times.
No.
Well,
Chuck Norris joke went down okay. So
yeah. So this week the quality is going to drop tremendously.
Fucking terrible now.
It's going to be awful now. Awful now. But you know what isn't awful? Do you know what's actually the opposite of awful? That's our amazing sponsor, Global Comics.
Global Comics.
Yes, it's the place to go for digital comics. There's a huge library of titles available to read on the Global Comics app, from thousands of indie creators to hundreds of publishers like Image, Boom, Tokyo Pop, TKO Studios, SourcePoint Press, Humanoids, to name but a few. There's loads, and I'm constantly surprised at how many different publishers and creators are on there, and the catalogue is still growing all the time. Chaps, have you got any highlights you want to talk about this week?
Yeah, I thought I might mention Ribbon Queen, which Garth talked about last week, which the last issue comes out, I believe, this Wednesday, if people are listening on the day of release. But all of the issues up to that one are on the app, and I suspect that the other one will drop as soon as it gets released.
Yeah,
so
I've added that to my library, actually.
That's like a day-date release, which is pretty good. And the art on that is by Jason Burrows, who's that old Avatar regular, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He did Scars with Warren Ellis.
The original crossed artist.
I think he was, mate. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So there you go. Read that one. What about you, D?
The spice must flow. We've got June Part 2 is dropping the end of this week.
We're very excited.
And there's a whole bunch of June books from Boom Studios on Global Comics. I've not read them all, but the ones I have read, I've really enjoyed. So you can go check that out.
I always thought when he says, no, call me by the name of the small shadow in the second moon, and it was, you know what that name is, don't you, Dan?
Muad'Dib.
No, Usul.
Oh, Usul, yes.
Yeah,
sorry.
it always sounded a bit like arsehole to me. I don't know why.
Usul.
Yeah.
A lot of things sound like arsehole to you.
Yeah, mostly people on Twitter.
Yeah. Also.
I always said, call me Paul Muad'Dib. Oh, they'll never get that then. They're looking for Paul Atreides. You're Paul.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that
They won't know who that
wrong
is.
Paul.
Yeah.
He's got blue eyes.
Oh dear, I think that's those sort of adaptions and things like that. I think we need to delve into that again, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, not me personally, but I know how close June is to you, to the hearts of both of you.
I would, for me and Dan, I would literally describe it as a full religion for us.
Yeah.
We actually believe in it like people believe in Christianity.
Yeah. So I want to explore that over an episode.
Someone put a post on one of these Facebook groups about sci-fi stuff, and it was, how could Paul beat Jamis in a knife fight? And I was like, felt myself
There
inflating
we
like
go.
a fucking
Essay
balloon.
time. Essay time.
Oh dear, amazing! But yes, you can read those amazing comics on the Global Comics app, and you can read. You can also follow creators, set reading status filters, and release notifications for books you're looking forward to checking out in the future. And if you yourself are a creator, as I know many of our lovely listeners are, you can publish your digital comics for free. They offer loads of great tools for indie creators to help with publishing, marketing, and more. And it'd be great for us to see some of you guys out there, your books sort of pop up on the feeds. That'd be awesome. Because I know they'd stand out. Yeah. Vanguard's going to stand out, man.
Yeah, I think
I've got Viper on there. Oh, brilliant! That's great because we've got so many comics in our little bit of the small press community that we could do really well on that. We could have an ACP section if the people from Global Comics wanted that to happen, and like.
Bear in mind, the code they sent us was F-bomb. Yeah. They might go for it, mightn't they?
They might go for it,
yeah. Look, right now, they're just putting up with us, and we really appreciate it. So, if you're an average if you're an average
like our wives.
You know, like they're kind of like one of those big, magnificent, beautiful whales sailing through the ocean with a kind of lamprey.
Yeah, we're just hanging on.
Love me.
Yeah, that's us, comics mollusks. But if you're an avid comics reader, creator, or maybe you're just someone new to the hobby and just want to check out some great stories, Global Comics is the place for you. So for more information, check out Global Comics. That's comics with an X.com. You can download the app now on the Apple App Store or Google Play and start reading and publishing digital comics like never before. This is we're starting a new phase of the ACP, sort of subtly starting a new phase.
Will you take the piss out of my clothes?
This particular podcast will never become a video show.
No. We say
think of the women.
No. But we have taken to doing our Zoom recordings on video, and this is a monumental week because it's the first time we're doing it without a guest here. Normally we have the cameras on for guests because we try to be professional is the wrong word, isn't it? But just sort of like
I like it when you got a guest and you got the camera and you can read them a little bit better. So if you sort of say a question that's a bit off color, and they're like, "Oh God, he doesn't like that."
There was a moment before we recorded last week where we said to Garth about a particular character that, let's say, we may have ranted a bit about recently.
Yeah,
and his face. I'm glad we had him on camera because his face was like. Yeah, you're right.
Bruce. Yeah, you're right.
Yes. So, and also the guests, likewise, can see when we're completely lying or being
when we're yawning.
Yeah. So we, although this week it's just the three of us, so we're just perhaps if we stumble over our words, it's because I'm so completely aroused by looking at these two for the next hour and a half.
I'm always aroused. Yeah. I'm always in like some form of arousal.
Really?
All the time.
You guys, like it's almost if it was on the scale, it's never zero for me.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I usually end up that if that happened to me, I'll be blacking out half the time. So. Awful joke.
But to go into it, I mean, I was in the gym the other day and I was laughing because everyone's penis was so much smaller than mine. But then again, mine was erect. You know.
Also, why are you going in there just looking? Anyway, that's a fucking different.
What else do you get for the gym for?
So
no more cameras.
No more cameras because
the experiment ends.
They're both naked right now, listeners. But
we got some topics, haven't we?
Yes, whether it be a new sort of recording format for us, still the same old shit you used to. Every week, and we got a couple of topics, interesting topics of discussion, I think. And of course, as always, what we like to say is keep the discussion going, whether it be on the Slack community, of which everyone is welcome. So if you want to join, just get in touch with us. And there's a wonderful community of people on there, different sort of groups. I know we usually put this at the end, but I feel like I want to say it more because there's such a great.
We've had some new people come in this week.
Yeah. Nice introductions from them. It's been cool.
Yeah, discussion and discourse, and it's comics positivity, which is what we need a lot of, which is good. I just go on there to read sometimes, because I don't post that much. But certainly keep.
You posted a few times in the last week, haven't you? You've been on there a couple of times, haven't you? I noticed.
Yeah. And partly because it's such a joy to go on and read and see all these wonderful people just enjoying comics, which is what this show's all about.
Like Jordan, our old friend. Jordan.
He's on there.
For those on the Slack, they'll know that joke.
Oh dear. But the first topic we've got this week is well, actually, who came up with this topic? I think I did. I came up with this topic tonight.
Tony fleshed it out.
I think you'll find I came up with it originally.
No. I think when we were talking about it, I did.
Yeah, I think you'll find I doodled it on a post-it note and didn't show it to you, although you probably guessed.
Yeah, but I came up with some of the words.
Yes.
And now those words are popular.
They weren't the same words. No. They're in a different order.
Look.
Yeah, Dan came up with it.
Just because it's probably totally. We thought we'd talk about the interesting topic of what's the best way to word it?
Who can be credited with character creation?
Yes.
How would that be?
Yeah. This isn't so much about like character rights, any legal sort of thing.
No.
There's an interesting subject of, and sometimes it crops up pretty regularly on the comics
it's more recently than not with the whole Rob Liefeld Deadpool thing.
Yeah.
I think it all kicked off, that comics tropes guy. He kind of made a claim on social media that essentially that Rob Liefeld didn't create Deadpool. And
was it? I watched his stuff. He's all right.
Back. Yeah, he's all right. Rob Liefeld sort of kicked back and sort of said, no, I fucking made Deadpool. And
as I understand it from what Rob is saying, to play devil's advocate slightly, is he came in with, was it 7 characters that he'd created and owned and wanted to know if Marvel wanted them for the X-Men line.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, because in some of the sort of things he's posted, it's like he had the designs and then he sold them to Marvel or something like that.
Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
They sort of bought them off him kind of thing. Contracts all signed and sealed or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny world, and I've been going backwards and forwards a bit on it this week in my own head, and I know we've chatted a little bit about it. But what I thought I'd do is, so I've got a theory. So what I'm going to do is give you 2 case studies.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the most obvious one, Spider-Man. Okay, so who created Spider-Man? Let's have, before we get into it, let's just have a vote. Who created Spider-Man? Vince?
Stan Lee.
Yep.
Oh, this is
Stan Lee.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say this answer, but it feels fake saying this. I'm going to say this answer because it's kind of what the world has been led to believe. So I'm going to say Ditko, Steve Ditko.
Steve Ditko. Okay, so you're saying two people, yeah?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would have said.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'm kind of a bit unknowledgeable on that, if I'm honest. So that's kind of...
That's fine. I don't think there's many people who would argue with you. But let's look at the creation of the character. Let's look at the timeline, rather.
Okay.
Stan Lee is, if you believe Stan's stories, not all of them are, I'm sure they're all a bit dramaed up, aren't they? Yeah. But he says, as I understand it, Marvel was on its last arse, and they've said, you can create a character. So he's decided to create, he says it can't be Flyman. What about Spider-Man? Okay, so he's come up with this idea of Spider-Man. Okay. Now, as I understand it, Ditko wasn't the first person to draw him. Jack Kirby, I believe, had a go at drawing him. Right. They weren't happy with it, so they went to Steve Ditko, and Steve Ditko drew it. Do you still say Steve and Stan?
Well, if Kirby came up with an initial design, I'd have to see the design to sort of
it's not quite that.
I'd have to go Ditko and Lee.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that because what became what it is Ditko and Ditko. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I know someone took a stab at designing it first, but if what we got was Steve Ditko and Stan Lee, I'm inclined to stay with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think it is. I think that was before it saw print.
Yeah,
that was before it was fully fledged and in a comic.
I mean, guys, have you seen what Kirby's looked like?
Yeah, I think it's out there somewhere, isn't it? I think you can see it. Yeah. Okay, so second case study. Okay, so we've got that. The point I'm making here is horses for courses.
Yeah.
That's,
Okay.
You got a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Bobby Chase. We all know who Bobby Chase is. Yeah. Do you know Bobby Chase, Mockingbird?
Yes.
Yeah. The weird thing is, my mind completely blanked. As soon as you said Mockingbird, I was like, oh, of course.
I just Googled Jack Kirby's original Spider-Man design. It's very different.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, it's got the red, blue, and yellow.
Yellow?
So, sorry, not yellow for Spider-Man. It's got there's like a bit of yellow, but it's, I guess, all superhero kind of characters with the red, white, and blue kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go to Bobby Chase. So Bobby Chase first appeared.
This is an interesting one because it's not so mainstream, is it? It's a smaller
it's a little bit of a You could call her a supporting character. I know she later had a title, but yeah. In 1971, okay, she appeared as a female love interest in a Kazar comic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't. So, who created at that time by Len Wein and Neil Adams.
Okay.
I think she was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, if memory serves me right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She didn't become Mockingbird until 1980 in Marvel Team Up 95. Now, if you go to the Wikipedia page, Len Wein and Neil Adams created, according to Wikipedia, I know it's not the best place to go to, but Len Wein and Neil Adams created Mockingbird.
Oh, God, that's...
see, for me, they created the character who then became Mockingbird. I would liken this to Betsy Braddock, right? The creation of that character is not Psylocke. Psylocke was almost like a new character, wasn't it? It's still Betsy Braddock. You know, I know things changed in the X-Men. You know, you don't need to call me out on the internet for that.
Yeah,
we know that. But it was Betsy Braddock, wasn't it? So, but the people that created Betsy Braddock can't say, "I created Psylocke."
Yeah, for me, even that, with the kind of the character before she became Mockingbird, I can't imagine she's anything more than a kind of fucking background character or. She's a big player.
She's probably second or third character in it. You know, she's probably got as many scenes as Zabu. You know, man, she can kick ass in it a bit still. Yeah. You know, she's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. It's very. There's not like a clear line of delineation to say they definitely did. They definitely didn't.
I think one of
definitely case by case.
One of the sticking points for a lot of the, you know, when you read these clickbaity articles or all these kind of things of people, they're trying to sue this publishing company for ownership of these rights or this, that, and the other, or this fights between creators or whatever. It becomes murky when a character is so big and a creator is taking credit for things that character is popular for. That creator hasn't had anything to do with.
And any input, You
know, I could create a character, you know, looks great, but I haven't done anything with it. It's shit. You know,
I mean, giving Spider-Man a black costume, is that enough now to say that you've created Venom? I'd say not.
No.
You know?
No. But the Venom entity itself, the separate Eddie Brock thing, is a different... do you know what I mean? Because that's
weird, isn't it? Because, I mean, that's a massive... grey area.
And then you have do you create the character? Do you create the story? Do you know what I mean? There's
was that whole thing with
variables.
Eddie Brock and the Sin Eater stuff? Was that done by the same creative team that goes on to do Venom?
No, I don't know enough about that.
No.
Because then you've got Eddie Brock, who's a separate character.
Because Venom came about Todd McFarlane era, wasn't it? That was when Venom
came from Marvel sequels.
But Venom himself, the black suit.
See, that we don't know how far that was planned because there is this story about how Shooter used didn't a fan email in or mail in about
the black suit, and he bought it off him.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got to remember that when he gets that black suit in that world, they all get sent to. He knows it's an alien.
Yeah. Because they say I can remember the story. He's like, "Where do you get all your costumes?" And it's like, "There's a machine in that room." And he goes in, and he goes to the wrong one or whatever, and it's the symbiote that kind of goes over him.
Right.
How does your costume do that?
I think we're almost crossing over there. There's this line now where you've got one side which is the creative, if you want to call it that, industry, and on the other side you've got legal. So this becomes a legal thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the creation of a character has to be dealt with in some kind of civil court, I'm guessing in the States or in the UK,
Yeah.
if there's an argument over it. And that has the only thing they can do is apply the case by case, basis on it.
And some creators are very savvy with their legality, so they'll know, right, okay, I've got this bit of paper signed that says I sold them this idea.
Yeah.
So it's mine, and that's what's
Yep.
that's probably that's left a bunch of creators out in the cold, isn't it? Because they don't have.
I think that's what McFarlane maybe clocked a bit too late when they obviously first started Image, and they were doing this entwined universe where like Chapel killed Spawn. He's like, well, hold on, fucking, that's not my character. Rob Liefeld's got that, and he had to retroactively revise that, didn't it? So it was like Jessica Priest who killed Spawn, and Chapel was nothing.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want his character's kind of origin tied up with someone else's IP.
Okay.
It's
I think legalities aside, the thing that always sort of makes me grind my teeth, like I said, is people taking complete credit for the reason that something's popular. Do you know what I mean? It's
I mean, we can go straight onto the fucking Deadpool thing because that's that's the whole.
As much as we
Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, respect for Rob. Rob Liefeld didn't make him funny.
No.
Never made him funny.
There's none of the elements that Deadpool's known for, and kind of like
it was
light that Rob
Joe
Liefeld
Kelly,
issued.
wasn't it? Joe, I think when it started to sort of change, it was because Nicieza, is it Nicieza? Is that how you say his name?
Never say his name.
Yeah. He obviously started it, and then when Deadpool had those limited series, which were, I think it was Nicieza did the 2 limited series. I think he wrote those, didn't he? Because there's one Mad Riot, and then there was Ed McGuinness, and when Deadpool had his first ongoing series, I believe it was Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness, and that started.
Okay.
That started like Blind Owl, for instance. The character that we know. That's a Joe Kelly creation. That didn't exist anytime before that.
To me, there's a whole area there of developed character.
Yeah.
So you should be able to get credit for developing. For me, Neil Adams and Len Wein have created Bobby Chase, who's this character who's a SHIELD agent and kicking ass. And then whoever, I forget who it was now, was it Marv or someone, Tony Isabella has put her in a costume and developed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost that, and I think you should get credit for that.
Yeah.
I mean, take another class. If we start, Deadpool's the obvious one, but I think another interesting one, still on the Marvel train, Wolverine.
Yeah.
First created, we all know when he first arrived in the Hulk and everything, but what he became, was not that, was it?
I actually quite like the fact that Len Wein created him because it for my reason being, it really grinds the fucking gears of Chris Claremont.
Because Chris Claremont basically made him what he is with the kind of X-Men stuff.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
And Frank obviously pitched in with
miniseries.
Yeah. And that goes to your point, Tony, about someone else created it, someone else developed it.
When you think how much has Batman changed, how much has Superman changed, in some ways not a lot, but in a lot of ways fucking totally.
Superman is night and day, completely different from.
Yeah, Batman had guns, Yeah.
Well,
Batman's another one, isn't it? Bill Finger, was completely put out in the cold around that.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been Batman if not for him.
That comic strip that someone did, like Bob Kane's Batman, and it's this guy running around in a red suit.
Yeah.
Is there someone in charge in the police that I can speak to? So no, Commissioner Gordon's not in this strip. He wasn't made by Bob Kane's Bill Finger. Okay.
It's like someone's developed all the characters to look like what's that Mark Millar character? Nemesis.
Oh yeah. If you look at a bunch of recent comics from either publisher, there's a couple of Nemesis in there.
Vince said there's a picture of Batman is completely in white.
Yeah.
And then I sent you a picture back of the Daredevil comic I just read where he's completely in white.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Bit kind of,
who created Jessica Chastain for that cover of that comic though?
That's another topic that the listeners will have to ask us about off air.
I was thinking about it the other day, like the whole using someone's image. Like you can get yourself in real shit for that.
Yeah.
You can sort of say, oh yeah, but like Samuel Jackson worked out fine for him because he was in. Yeah, but like that, you can't look at the exception and say that's the fucking rule. It's get yourself in shit.
So in terms of like So how do you feel about like creative ownership? It works so much different now.
Well, I've had some issues with it recently.
Yeah, and of course, the image revolution, if we can say, like, in the early to mid 90s, that was a shift change in a lot of things, because there was a lot of creators who were put out by money being made off stuff that they created for someone else, which is always the thing with these with their big companies, isn't it? Because they're naturally sort of like, well, if you make it here, we own it.
I feel like
go on, Dan.
That's kind of capitalism in as much that if you sign that contract that says that, that's what it fucking says.
Yeah.
It can't. It's not particularly nice, but
no,
that's...
and that's why there's so many classic, veteran creators now, who aren't getting paid, possibly what.
I was hearing Pat talking about it today on Everything Comes Back to 2000 AD. He did an interview on there. I think it came out yesterday, and he's talking about Panini and the Doctor Who story he wrote, and he was saying that Panini nothing. It's only because of Bad Wolf. The production company approached him and said, "We want to pay you for this." They didn't have to do it.
I totally get it with, like, that's the way corporations are. Like, they're just... They're like that.
The world has significantly changed since when he wrote it, but it's nice to see someone being decent.
Oh, totally.
That's the problem, isn't it? That's the only problem, is that a lot of these people won't be. I mean, I did recently, so I won't go into the details, but I had a character of mine that I spotted online being used to advertise something, like a financial benefit of a large organisation. So I messaged them and say, I own this character, I created it, I fucking published it, it earns money for charity.
Paid the money for the artist, it's all legit.
Paid to be fair, a lot of money for the pages to the artist. Whose authority did you have to publish this thing? To use it as advertising for your business.
Yeah.
And they were quite apologetic.
Yeah, fair enough.
And although they didn't follow through and actually donate any money to the charity that I asked them to, but I said, you can use it if you want to donate money to this charity. Feel free, because they didn't, they just withdrew it. But
talk's cheap, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why this show's free.
But there's a lot of that kind of, like, the whole kind of creating characters. One of the things that kind of bugged me this week is, like, Larry Hama, who kind of did, like, G.I. Joe from the ground up.
Oh, that letter, man.
He's still fucking...
What's this? Catch me up on this.
He dropped a letter basically where... I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but basically he was happy to sign stuff for people, but just don't take the piss. And basically he still fucking has to put in work.
He's 70s and he hasn't got a... Yeah.
He hasn't got a pot to piss in.
Decent pension, yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't got his pension. And, like, man, you built G.I. Joe from the ground up, and it is what it is because of Larry Hama, and he's just got nothing. It's nothing from it. It's galling, man. It's really...
Yeah, because, like, that, I mean, especially kids of a certain generation, should we say, the memories that we have of a lot of these characters, even if we don't realise it come from that man's brain who wrote those stories, which...
But I guess nowadays...
Because it wasn't necessarily in the cartoon. I mean, as much as I love watching those old cartoons, but they're kids' cartoons, do you know what I mean? But when you think of Snake Eyes Storm Shadow going to assassinate someone, passing through, like, a doorway of bells, and the bells don't make a sound, that wasn't on a kids' cartoon. That's Larry Hama who's written that. Do you know what I mean?
Playing devil's advocate. Yeah, we all work in business where we create stuff for people.
Yeah.
Work
for hire. That sort of, like...
Yeah. I also have spent fucking 40 years paying into a pension.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean,
pay into a pension. My dad paid into a pension. My granddad, I'm sorry that you're in this bad situation. I really am.
I understand.
But who did you expect to pay for you?
Who was going to pick up the tab
when you retired? Who did you think would pay for you? I know there is, you should be getting a pension from the government. That's not always brilliant, but...
I totally get where you come from. I think it's like one of those things you don't realise. They didn't realise at the time how big this was going to be.
You got to have a backup. I mean, I've got an independent one.
I mean, if you're working full-time,
you can't depend on anyone.
I take my hat off to people because it seems a hard fucking gig. It's
but I mean, from a creative aspect, like if we were, like, to create all of this stuff, and there's a certain I guess even if you know it's work for hire, it's still going to gall you in some way, especially at the time, and especially at the time, a lot of these things, they aren't the gangbusters making hundreds of millions or doing all this. They work for hire. You're getting paid. This is all good. Blah blah blah. But 20 years later, and then someone's mining what you did 20 years ago. That would hurt.
I think it's turned a corner a bit. I think people are actually. I hear DC do well. People, there's Jim Starlin's spoken highly of MCU getting paid, stuff like that. I think it does happen.
But if you look at the kind of Eastman and Laird, I can never do his name. But with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they did that off their own back. It all belonged to them, and then they're fucking coining it in now, aren't they?
Yeah. Although one of them sold their half, didn't they, to the other?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
You get this, I guess, but they didn't do badly out of it. Do you know what I mean? They're both.
No, I mean that
was their own.
But also, I mean, I love that story of like these two indie comic guys just creating a fucking culture phenomenon.
Stuck their neck up and got it done themselves. But you never know what's coming down the line, so you kind of have to.
Well, I think the thing is, we hear about it more from comic creators because we're comic fans. We see them talking about it on Facebook, wherever it is there. But there's a lot of people out there who've done stuff for people and aren't getting the right amount of money. And there's a lot of big companies making a lot of money off people. Never mind just comics; it happens everywhere, not just in the creative industry. It happens everywhere. It's just the justice is needed and the balance needs to be repaired. But you got to rely on the fact that you can't trust fucking people, man.
No,
don't fucking trust the corporation to kind of do the right thing.
Trust us, listeners.
Don't trust me
because we'll talk absolute shit. Now, but here's a thought though. Do you think? I mean, personally, I think a lot of these companies that are making all this money off this IP, etc. They're going to be mining a lot more of the older. I hate to use the term content, but that's what I mean by that. They'll be mining a lot more of that. This is the pessimistic Vince, because the modern ideas aren't strong enough anymore. So as the modern ideas are getting weaker, there's going to be more older creators who aren't getting what they deserve because they're mining these ancient. I mean, heaven forbid, I hate to say it, but sometimes they'll do it and the creator's dead. Do you know what I mean? They've passed away. So what happens there in terms of them actually getting what they deserve, or their families getting what they deserve?
It's a snake that's going to eat itself because you mine all the old ideas because the new ideas aren't any good, allegedly. Then the new ideas stop happening.
Yeah.
And then you get this fucking black hole of ideas
stuck
and
in a rut.
Creative content and good content and stuff. You don't get it anymore.
Yeah.
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 And the old stuff. The old stuff has already got this reliable fan base as well. Yeah. They know it works.
Yeah.
So, but the story that was written in She-Hulk last year, they don't know it has a longevity to it. Yeah. But they know that the Infinity Gauntlet has a longevity to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made the comparison about them jumping over years and years of maybe decades of stories to tell them the modern ones, and it's like these modern ones are not really that highly regarded. So why?
Even some of the '90s stuff, man. You look at some of the '90s ideas. There's an Instagram account that I look at occasionally, and you think, oh, fucking hell, I forgot completely about that character. I was reading Fantastic Force yesterday.
Oh yeah,
and I completely forgot about the characters in it.
Mm.
Who were the characters in Fantastic Force?
There was a sort of barbarian lady with an axe, wasn't there? There was
I can't remember.
Is it Vibrasus or something? Who was a vibranium superhero from Wakanda? There was
Oh, bloody hell. Okay.
Yeah, but we forget,
Yeah, you can go back and cherry pick.
Yeah, you looked at the trading cards for the '90s. There's loads of stuff there. We're like, oh yeah,
that's
like,
that fucking guy.
Yeah. Another thing I find is as things, and it was something that I think when we were talking to Garth, it sort of came up that like the Punisher was a creation, whereas a lot of comic characters were sort of influenced by the other comic characters. The Punisher was sort of influenced by the cinema of the time, like the Death Wishes.
And I think it was books. If you read Conway's conversation around it, it came from the Exterminator. Is it the Exterminator? It came from a trash novel series.
The sort of pulp books.
And
by Don Pendleton. Yeah.
That's what's fascinating to me in any sort of media. Like certainly, like when I watch movies, sometimes I'll watch a movie and I will know because it's got the film has substance. That came from a book. Do you know what I mean? But then you see the sequel to that film, which doesn't have a book,
and it's got completely
nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing to it.
So, and I fear sometimes that might be where a lot of stuff.
I
goes.
genuinely think some of it is because we've gone to these writers' rooms. You know, they just get fucking watered down in a writer's room.
It becomes like a committee written by committee.
You can't do it, yeah.
It's like
we need Mario Puzo writing Superman the movie and inserting the fact that he meets Telly Savalas. Have you heard this story about Mario Puzo? When he wrote The Godfather, didn't he? And then they said, "Oh, can you write Superman?" And he has Superman flying over apparently, and he sees Telly Savalas as Kojak, so he lands. Telly Savalas takes the lollipop out of his mouth, says, "Who loves you, Superman?" And Superman flies off again. And that was in the script for quite a long time, because I think Mario Puzo was mates with Telly Savalas. And just shit like that. But we need that single vision stuff. I think I agree. We either fail or it'll succeed sometimes.
It's kind of mean-spirited fucking camels, isn't it? Like a horse is a camel is a horse designed by committee.
By committee, yeah.
And you get those kind of abominations. And when there's a checklist of like, we've got to have this, you can't have this. It's like, oh God, it moves away from that kind of the artistic vision of the one person or a couple of people.
Yeah. Then we get the Marvels.
But we had to talk about character kind of creation and like who owns it. The creator to the Punisher, like he kind of hates what the characters did become or how that's changed. So it's not so much he wants to claim ownership, he wants to kind of distance himself in some respects.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. It's yeah, that is interesting because it can go either way, can't it?
Yeah.
What another one that always sticks in my mind is Ghost Rider, because there was a lot of legal stuff.
Oh yeah, God, yeah, that's all changed as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the problem with it, who's the guy who created Ghost Rider? Oh, the one who was involved in not Friedman, is it? Oh, I can't remember his name now. Michael Fleischer, was it? I can't remember. So
Fleischer, was it Fleishman?
No, Fleischer, was it? I can't fucking remember. Sorry, mine's gone too much. It's looking at your two beautiful faces. Well, he, I think when the first Ghost Rider movie came out, he said like, "Why am I not getting more money or something, or getting money at all?" I'm not sure if he's paid or not. And Marvel sort of doubled down and said, "Who said you could sell fucking prints and stuff at conventions?"
Gary Friedrich, is that?
Gary Friedrich, pardon me. Yeah. I think that's where. So Marvel like went, "Are you going to sue us? We're going to sue you." It went a bit that way, I think.
Okay.
They went on a bit on the offensive, yeah. Which I guess sort of stung up a lot of creators who maybe were considering stuff around that time, because it was the start of the boom Marvel Universe time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Probably put them off a bit, thinking, "Oh, fucking hell."
Yeah.
You know.
Rightly so. I mean, if the mouse lawyers are coming after you, you're in deep shit.
Yeah.
There's deep pockets on those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and the poor geezer's trying to pay for his fucking mortgage by selling a couple of Ghost Rider prints at his table. I remember him at New York chatting to him. He's very friendly. Yeah.
They said that character completely evolved, though, from Johnny Blaze to Danny Ketch.
Before that, it was a man on a horse. Before that, it was a cowboy.
Right, yeah, God, yeah. So it's completely and utterly changed. Interesting subject. I mean, you kind of essentially going to be arguing over definitions of...
Yeah, I think you've got to do it case by case. I mean, I was going to... Honestly, when I started thinking about this, I was going to do it in stages. So, like, you could almost say an artist comes up with a design and hands it to the writer. At the point where he's just designed that character, does that mean he's created it? But then he's collaborating. Yeah. So that extends the creation.
That's a...
that's a... So this the visual look of the character, not actually the substance
thing, because, because a lot of artists are brought in just to design the suit of stuff.
Yeah, but then again, you get the artist who comes up with a design and a backstory, and then he sends it to the writer. At what point do you draw that line?
Yeah, it's very tricky.
You've got to look at each one in its own.
Yeah.
As it stands,
What about this then? If we just step away from characters, what about storylines? Because that's, I mean,
there's that famous moment, isn't there, apparently, in a Marvel retreat. Bendis talks about it. Because Bendis and Millar apparently just used to fucking wind each other up. I think they like each other, but they used to do it for a laugh.
Yeah.
And Bendis talks a lot about this, about being at the Marvel retreat when Millar walked in and they said, "Right, what you got? What have you got? What have you got?" And they ran around the table, and Millar went, "I've got Civil War." And he fucking dropped it, and Bendis says, "My brain fucking exploded." He says, "That's brilliant." He says, "Give it to him. I love wind him up, but that moment, yeah.
I
mean, it's not groundbreaking,
it's just a great fucking idea.
That's the thing about some great ideas. It's just like sometimes
you can do
just,
stuff with this
when you just say like one line to someone.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do this like with a couple of my writer friends. I just sort of WhatsApp them and I just go, "What about this idea?" And I'll just pitch them one line. Like the other day, my other Dan in my life.
There's another one.
No, there can be only one. Because Butcher does chop people's heads off.
I do have a book on my shelf over there by you two, actually. Yeah.
But I just said to him, "What about Cluedo? But everyone's a serial killer." Do you know what I mean? Just that sort of like, okay, here's the elevator pitch, sort of like, okay, and that's probably what Mark Millar was like. Okay, it's just this.
Do you know, there's that thin line, isn't there? Whenever anyone gives a pitch like that, all I can think of is monkeys and they're playing tennis. That's all I sometimes can think of.
I read about a game show or something like that when they put like these blokes in a house, like 7 blokes in a house. It was like a game show thing. And they said, one of you's gay and you got to vote them out. But none of them were. They didn't say that. So like, it was like them all accusing one another and it just went to fucking pieces. But essentially that's the same. Yeah, it's like you put all 7 people in a house and you say one of you's a serial killer. But they're all serial killers.
You're wearing chinos. It's like that in-betweeners thing where your dad's gay and because he's wearing those shorts. You remember, like, he's clearly not gay, but
just wind up.
Funny enough, I had it this week. I had an artist I admire who messaged me at like fucking 5 o'clock in the morning with a story idea, and I fucking wrote it straight away. Because sometimes you just need that little thing, don't you, from someone you like to say, "Oh, what about this? We should do this," and you go.
Yeah, that's great. I can see where that goes, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it all kind of locked in there, and only to what about this? And it's like, there you go.
Yeah. We had this person.
Civil War.
I said to them.
Civil War is an interesting topic, though. I think because, like, all of us, I think, know like that's a Mark Millar joint. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was one of those. That was like a second coming of the creators being on the, the billboard along with it. And then afterwards, did that because we didn't really get that too much before that, did we? I think.
I kind of see that as because they say the 2000s, the end of the 90s and the 2000s was the era of the writer, and I don't think it, to be fair, it has actually stopped being the era of the writer in some ways.
Yeah.
But I do think that was the period when you had these like Bendis, Millar, Fraction, Brubaker. They were at the big two. They were banging out stories, and you're like, this is Greg Rucka as well as another one at the time.
But I really like
that
secret invasion pitch of like the Skrulls have fucking infiltrated.
Yeah.
They're all among us. We don't know where the hell they are.
World War Hulk was another one.
Yeah, World War Hulk.
Yeah, Planet Hulk followed by World War Hulk. Even though I wasn't really a Hulk reader, just knowing about those, I just thought that's just an amazing fucking idea.
It's basically like a gladiator film on another planet with a Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we basically got a little line of quite good events for me. I enjoyed them. And then we got event overload, didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't think that's apart from like some of the Scott Snyder stuff, that doesn't feel like that kind of stuff transitioned to DC so much. I know, obviously, I think the Court of Owls and all of that stuff was.
Yeah. I mean, we get quite a few running at the same time. You get the Superman thing in Another World. You get the Batman. Fucking Joker year one at the moment.
The one where they had the earthquake with Batman, that was decent.
Yeah, I like No Man's Land.
Yeah,
I like.
That's a story like moving forward. What kind of frustrates me a lot about the Batman Superman stuff, and it's mainly Batman stories that this happens to. A new writer comes on and goes, right, I'm going to fucking show my chops by reinventing something that happened in the past that's going to shake Batman and his family to the core.
Nothing will ever be the same again.
Yeah, I don't need this again.
Meaningless fucking sentence in comics, that is.
Do a story moving forward as opposed to constantly trying to revise the past to make recontextualize something. It's isn't there a story at the moment, the big crossover with Marvel? It's like Crime Wave or something. It's like, what's the story? The big summer event they had.
Oh, Gang War.
Gang War, yeah.
Yeah. The sort of Spider-Man led event, but there's a Daredevil version of it.
There's a big Gang
Shang-Chi
War
version of it. Yeah.
Wow. Great.
I thought that was going on anyway. I thought that was going on.
That was going on anyway. Yeah. I mean, it's hardly sort of like there's a big gang war in.
That's the one where I've got those 3 letters ending in G on my forehead. That's why I went and bought a load of Shang-Chi variants this week, didn't I?
Right, yeah.
Shit stories, man. Shit comics.
Yeah.
And how you fuck up a Shang-Chi comic, but
I don't know. You
I
get
managed to
having
do it.
selfies.
If there's something I learned from Jurassic Park, it's nature finds a way.
Yeah.
But
Fuck up a Shang-Chi film.
It's so much
Too
different.
much.
It's so much different with indie comics, though, isn't it? Like when there's the, we have that control over the things that we create.
Tight control. Yeah.
And hopefully there won't be too much legal stuff involved.
Hopefully people get a few quid.
Yeah. Although I think it benefits people, certainly if they're working with certain companies or publishers, even if it's an independent publisher. Just be aware of your rights and who owns what, because we know. I mean, there's a comic that's very near and dear in my heart that won't continue somewhere else because the publisher owns it.
Yeah.
And they stopped it. Do you know what I mean? And even though
Elementals, we'll never see Elementals because he fell out with Bill Willingham. Yeah.
So it's one of those. Just be aware of it, because it maybe sometimes it's an oversight because we're so caught up in the joy of making comics, isn't it? You don't want to think about that. The grown.
I think we're a bit more savvy nowadays because you didn't know what these huge kind of multinational beasts, Marvel and DC, were going to kind of get swallowed up by.
Do you think people have to be more because of crowdfunding and platforms?
Yeah, I think there's a case to be made that contracts need to be signed more. I'd say. Yeah. Yeah, very much so. I mean, I'm just sort of pleased that I've stayed in the good books and friendly with all the creators I've worked with. But there are when different characters at play, and there's fortunately probably I've stayed, because there's no money at play. And what little money there is, it goes to the artist. But
talked to a creator, I can't remember who it was, and I don't think we should name it if we do, but fell out with the artist, and they wanted all their pages and all the stuff they'd done removed from the book. I know who it was now talking about it.
Right.
And they were small press, and it's like, oh fucking hell, this is a right old nightmare. But say they come back to you and said, well, I created that character, I should be getting money going forward every time I make a sale. So that's where you need a basic contract to kind of make these stipulations.
Yeah, I mean, me and Nick have an email agreement, me and Nick Prolix, but I told him that we're going to reprint Cockney Kung Fu, and I said, how about this amount and this number of comps? We're not going to make much money on it, but I think you're due it. So it's almost like I'm paying him for reprint rights.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, brilliant, mate, thank you." That's the friendly relationship we have. Yeah. So I send it as soon as it gets printed, he gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a final kind of note on this, I did see a creator say, someone said to him, they're stealing all your golden eggs. You're like, yeah, but I'm the fucking goose. Like,
that is true.
Yeah.
In a way. We should treasure these great creators because they are the ones coming up with these great ideas.
And they got more in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no matter what you do or what you create, it's certainly...
keep laying those golden eggs.
Just keep laying those golden eggs.
The little brown ones.
Yeah.
Brown eggs.
Build good sort of relationships with the people you work with. Hopefully you...
Days since that wasn't a fart.
0.
After the rain comes the thunder.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think to be honest, one of the underlying things about all of this is communication, isn't it? Between everyone.
Yeah, keep it on.
Which, if you're working with some of these bigger publishers, whoever they may be, we're not just talking about the big two, probably all these publishers in general, is, even if it seems like you're drowning in paperwork, read it. Do you know what I mean? Before you sell them anything, it's interesting. But then again, sometimes you don't know if your character is going to be nothing. You don't know if it's going to be the big hit, do you? But
I mean, part of me also says, look, fuck it. I do this for fun. Fuck all that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I'm probably spying myself for the the inevitable Atomic Hercules movie. It's like, fuck it. I don't care. Yeah. Like, fuck it. Honestly.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
You want to be a cunt? Excuse my French. You be one. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, at the end of the day, as long as someone's reading and enjoying your comics and you're enjoying making them, that's all that matters to the indie scene.
As long as I'm getting the chicks,
That starts soon enough.
At any moment now.
Waiting on that to come in.
They've been waiting a while.
Yeah.
Keep them keen.
So that's Tony's. Man, we did a fair bit of time on that topic.
Oh, did we?
Christ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And I, obviously it's it's an interesting debate, and there's lots of. I mean, we covered so many different avenues of it, and both asked questions and didn't really answer anything, but made some answers. But I mean, the point is, there is no hard and fast answer. It's just opinions, and and thought-provoking opinions. So if there's anything,
we are not lawyers.
Yeah, no. maybe we glossed over. Maybe we got some facts wrong. Then obviously,
more than likely,
feel free to let us know, and we'll ignore you and carry on with our lives. Only joking. Our next little topic of debate is a renewal of a certain line of
this
comics.
This is your one, isn't it? I've got thoughts on this. You said earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. They may not be super controversial thoughts, but I think we all have thoughts on it.
Die.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting as well because recently we went into eerie. Was it eerie or was it creepy? It was eerie.
Eerie.
Both. Went to both.
It was around eerie. Yeah.
That whole sort of genre, and we've spoken about them quite a bit over the past few years, I think. But EC Comics.
Yeah. I'm a massive fan of EC Comics.
Yeah. The name is coming back. Now, obviously, if you don't know EC Comics, I'm sure you all do. But if you don't, just Google it because they're a bit of a classic.
Shall I give a potted history?
Yeah.
Okay, so 40s and 50s, closed 1956. Probably the most recognisable title you'll know is Tales from the Crypt.
Mm-hmm.
Owned by Maxwell Gaines, who then died, and he left it to his son William Gaines, who's just one of the main characters in comics. Really is. For its time, dealt with a lot of different subjects. We had cowboys, we had army, we had horror, that sort of thing, but was actually quite progressive in its politics. It dealt with race, anti-war themes, nuclear weapons, the arms race. The archives currently, this is where it's interesting, the archives for that have been put out by Dark Horse. It was actually kind of almost stopped. Mad Magazine continued from EC, but it was almost stopped due to Wortham's Seduction of the Innocent and the congressional hearings that followed, and that what then gave rise to the Comics Code Authority. So it's tied up in that, really is. This is all part of that history. The 10-Cent Plague, I think, is a great book on it if you get a chance to read it.
Man, that thing did a lot of damage.
Massively, yeah.
And essentially, if I can say, it's self-aggrandizement for that bloke. Because
and it was all very dodgy data, I think, wasn't it, that he had. So here's some of the people involved in it. Harvey Kurtzman, who came up, when did he come up with Bob, didn't he? Bob Fingerman.
Yes.
He taught Bob, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wallace Wood, Al Williamson, Al Feldstein, Graham Ingalls, Jack Davis, Johnny Craig, John Severin, Will Elder, and Bernie Krigstein, and more. Just incredible talent. So there you go. So do you want to lead on from there?
Yeah, so basically, after obviously being like a casualty of that Comics Code, all of that stuff coming up. In the article I read, it's like only now in 2024 is the company making its official return to the stands. Argue that because of reprints and fucking books and all kinds of stuff.
Also, it's not the same company.
There, if you look on the internet, there's a raft of publicity about this. From whether it be comics websites to Entertainment Weekly to everything else. So there's a big promotional push on this. There are 2 releases. So EC Comics is basically coming out through Oni Press. Oni Press have they've partnered with William M. Gaines Agent Incorporated.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So the new line will be overseen by Oni Press president and publisher Hunter Gorinson and editor-in-chief Sierra Hahn. In partnership with Kathy Gaines Mifsud and Corey Mifsud, the administrators of William M. Gaines Agent Incorporated. This is from an article from IGN. A lot of the articles all look the same, but this is what I'm reading from. And they're releasing 2 new titles, which you may have seen on doing the rounds on social media or wherever. The first 2 EC Comics titles will be Epitaphs from the Abyss, launching in July 2024, and Cruel Universe, launching in August 2024.
Epitaphs from the Abyss is a massive lean into Lovecraft stuff for me. I think that title very evocative.
We will get into the titles in a second.
Right.
Although Tony, while I'm just ranting some stuff, have you got a list of titles from the original EC? The sort of what they sounded like? Do you know what I mean?
They're not like that. Yeah, there's some of them are like War. Yeah, some of them are.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, some of them are a little bit, Tales from the Crypt and stuff like that. There is that. Yeah.
So Beginning with those releases, Oni will publish at least 2 EC Comics titles monthly. And these books will feature a rotating cast of creators that include, hold my breath and be prepared for a list, because this is quite a list. Jason Aaron, Brian Azzarello, Rodney Barnes, Karina Betchko, Cullen Bunn, Christopher Cantwell, Cecil Castellucci, Chris Condon, Joshua Hale Fialkov, Jay Holtham, Jeff Jensen, Matt Kint, Sean Lewis, Stephanie Phillips, Jay Stevens, Jack Thompson, Ben H. Winters, Kano, Peter Krause, Leo Max, Malachi Ward, and Dustin Weaver. That's a mix of writers and artists, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the same writers again, man.
Yeah.
I mean, all those writers are people I don't read their normal comics from. You know.
Right.
Well,
okay.
I mean, there's a couple. I mean, for instance, I hear like horror. I immediately think Cullen Bunn.
Yeah, Cullen Bunn and Aaron. I kind of think, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Christopher Cantwell.
Matt
can
Kint
run a
would be an
bath.
interesting one. Matt Kint would be.
Yeah,
but he can't run a bath. But this is just this EC return is both something, I think. The return of like an EC Comics sort of brand and that kind of styling. I love that kind of style of stuff. So there's part of me that's like, this is something to be celebrated. But it's also something very different.
Yeah.
That's what I think, man. It is very different. And if you look at those covers, they've released 2 covers, haven't they?
Yes.
They look more like Warren magazines than they do EC magazines.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, very, very much so.
But it can't be what that was.
No.
It just can't, because the
one of the beauties of EC for me is the retro feel to it.
Yeah.
So unless they're doing it on,
it's time capsules, isn't it? EC Comics
Very much
became
so,
time capsules, and that's the beauty of them. Even when they did like adaptations like Tales from the Crypt, they like the anime, the movie stuff. It still has that feel, doesn't it? It's still leaning into like what that is.
EC are massively interesting. I mean, they were nicking stories off all kinds of sci-fi writers and stuff.
Yeah.
Ray Bradbury, I think, turned up at the office at one point.
Yeah.
Well, I think they got involved in stuff. He actually wrote some stuff for them eventually. But it's just like, I mean, you just look at Krigstein's work in it. Absolutely groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And we got this, and it's just another horror anthology full of a bunch of chances who will each do a fucking 4-page story that nobody cares about, which won't be as good.
This is the thing. Well, the thing is, I'm going to check out these 2 titles, I think, purely because, the car crash.
Just to see what it's like.
Yeah, just to see what it's like. I have my reservations, and part of my reservations is the fact that a lot of modern horror writing and or sci-fi writing and like all of this kind of stuff, I see it with a lot of the anthologies that we check out, whether it be like a lot of the independent anthologies and stuff. They don't have that same rhythm, energy, look of the ECs. I mean, it was one of the things that it was abundantly clear to me when we were reading Creepy, just the snappiness of them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a real sort of like bam, 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 4 pages. There you go.
There's none of that drawn out stories. It's like this happened.
No,
this
these are
happening.
I mean, even shorter in EC
and
comics.
Even if they're not for you, something happened. One of my fears for this book is we're going to get a 6-page story, for instance, and nothing to happen in it, because they'll be pacing it cinematically, which is, obviously I like that pacing for some comics. That's not what I want with this.
No,
I want that sort of, you want the empty calories. Do you know what I mean? You want that sort of flavour.
Yeah.
You want that, just give me that schlocky goodness, because it is schlock, isn't it? There's that or pulp. That's the best way.
There was a sense of danger about the EC comics. There was also like a bullpen thing where they had all the same creators. They were in it to win it all together.
Yeah.
You're not just like, have you heard EC starting again? Oh, I'll write a couple of 4 pages.
Yeah. But is this going to be? I don't know. I guess the stories will be a mix, won't they? There'll be a mix of modern tales with retro tales, and
I guess. I mean, EC was
reprints.
There's pirate stories, there's space stories, there's all sorts of things. But will there be a reprint? That's what was interesting to say. I mean, to me, this doesn't count as a reboot. It's not a reboot. You can't reboot something from the 40s and 50s. It's impossible, because you can't reproduce it. Unless they're doing it on pulp paper with the fucking same old lettering that they used. Yeah. They had their own lettering style. Remember I bought the lettering machine they used as a present? Yeah. It's a weird cash-in on a name that, like, what percentage of comic readers know who or what
That's what I was going to say, man. Like,
Yeah.
I know you're kind of using this as for the name for kind of clout and to draw kind of like a thing, like a brand thing. But like, how many is that fucking going to key into? Is it really worth doing that? But then again, if you come into a brand new kind of horror anthology, I don't know if that had any weight either. It's
Yeah.
because if you said, "Oh, we're doing another horror anthology," it's like, okay, well, there's loads of those.
I was on another message board last week when they were talking about this, and someone who's a big horror fan on that message board was going, "I'm going to say who I think is going to be good in this," and half of them were. So he did like name, yes, name, nah, name, nah. You know, and there's a lot of no's in there.
Okay.
You know, I mean, who really thinks they're Johnny Craig? Who really thinks they're Al Williamson? Who really thinks they're Wally Wood?
Yeah,
They ain't got that talent.
Yeah,
that ain't out there.
I also, I guess another one of my fears is, this is gonna sound really grumpy now, but like the messaging. Do you know what I mean? You can tell a short horror story that says something. You totally can. You know, as well as it being entertainment, it could have a point. It could make you think. But 4 pages of being preached at ain't gonna work. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Is that kind of
massively?
And I fear
who on that list is prepared to take a chance?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And if it was some of the, Jay Oliveira or Hellbound Media, I'd say,
God,
they'd take a chance.
Yeah,
but not, God bless them, not Christopher Cantwell, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
I guess because they kind of like they want other gigs, so they can't really go for it because otherwise, it would reflect badly on them getting other work. So, oh, you did that. Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, the way backseat publishing, as we all do, I think all comics fans do in their own way, don't they? Oh, I'd like to see it like this. If it was me, I'd do it like this. I'd totally make it feel like a real fun retro thing. If I was to do something like this, do a year, like 6 issues, sort of bi-monthly, do 6 issues of each title, but have them sort of each of those issues be oversized, make them a bit more of a format that's like a celebration, and have the stories be sort of retro, pulpy, lean into what they're covering, because essentially this comic is a cover, isn't it? If we compare it to music, you're covering a famous band. That's what this is doing. And if you don't do it the same way, it will come across like that. So I hope for the best, as we always do.
Also, can I just say this with a massive question mark on the end of it? Oni.
That surprised me. That surprised me.
I mean, they do Ghost Dog and fucking... Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah.
That's a strange one.
Fair play if they're trying something different.
If they've got like a new imprint going.
It's different because the reader sensibilities are also completely different now. I mean, there's a large portion of people that will enjoy kind of like those original comics, but there's a lot maybe that wouldn't. And are you going to tell it in the modern voice? Are you going to tell it in the retro voice? Can you ever do that? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd like to proofs in the pudding, but like it won't.
I've seen. Well, we've all seen some wonderful sort of small press and indie people that do things in the style of those old comics, and they'll even do ads, and they'll do everything like that in that sort of style, won't it? It'll look like it came from the 50s or 40s or something. I'd love that to be part of this. Do you know what I mean? Make it feel like it's an old book. I don't think this is going to do that. I guess there won't be a crypt keeper or anything like that, will it?
From a personal perspective, we
have a horror host,
We did that Grim Scary Tales, and it's only the cover that slightly kind of harks back to the older horror comics, but really it's just you're telling 4, 5, 6, 7 page horror stories.
But what you got for me, Dan, on that is Grim Scary Tales. Immediately, the banner says it all. That feels there it is. I got my copy through the post this week.
I mean that's an easy homage, isn't it? That's an easy homage. Yeah.
So
we're not trying to pitch it for anything that isn't. It's not like.
And the 2 titles on this list, the famous classics from EC, Weird Science and Tales from the Crypt. That was your 2, wasn't it? That's kind of what they're. If these 2 new books are new versions of that, should we say? If we go really boil it down to basics, I guess Cruel Universe is the new Weird Science. And what was the other one? Epitaph from the Abyss is the new Tales from the Crypt.
Come on.
I do not like either name.
No, I don't either.
This is
Vault of Horror, The Haunt of Fear. Stuff like that EC were putting out.
It's just... it's got to be.
Man, I went through all those different titles of alliteration, like trying to get a punchy title. It's
Two-fisted tails, frontline combat. This is it's just descriptive.
What they've gone through is a bit wordy.
Yeah. Was it epitaph? I can't. You've just said it, and I can't remember.
Epitaphs of the Abyss.
Fuck that, man.
Also, the logo.
Epitaphs of the Abyss. I don't even know what that means.
I know. That one doesn't. You need.
I think I approached you guys for some names, and I think it might have been you, Vince, that come up with Grin Scary Tales. I think.
Yeah, because you just start.
You did Tome of Terror. There was loads.
You ignored mine.
Which one was your T?
Boobs.
I think that's certain majesty to it. But not quite right for the horror title.
It's a classic. I think.
Boobs of Terror. But that'd be good.
Yeah. By trying to.
It would have been Tits of Terror, surely.
Yes. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
I'd write for that.
TOT. By trying to create something original, they've created something forgettable. Epitaphs from the Abyss.
You had to look at the screen. I saw you then.
I fucking did, yeah. Because in my head, all I can think of is Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt.
Epitaphs
horror.
of Evil.
Yeah.
Epitaphs from the Abyss sounds like a terrible... It's just,
I mean, the thing is, they were quite well known for having one-word titles as well, EC. You had Panic, Piracy, Impact, Valor. They had those as well.
Yeah.
Cruel Master Race, I think, was in Impact, actually. So, this is the big story. Yeah.
I had to look up the dictionary definition because I was struggling a bit there. A phrase or form of words written in memory of a person who has died, especially an inscription on a tombstone. Epitaph.
What?
So, in the Abyss. So it's something.
Epitaph.
It's the name of something that will never be remembered.
That's in an abyss. Well, how do you see it then?
Yeah. Cruel Universe is a better name, but for me, that is the name of a story title, not a comic title.
Yeah.
Or not a comic like this. It would probably be, I can imagine. I quite like.
It'd be the same thing as
Universe of Terror, something like that.
Yeah, the Energon universe, and you got the titles within it, but it's not a comic of.
Even I think Strange Universe. Do you know what I mean? Just because I think the science stuff leans more into that weird, strange, and then you want words like terror, fear for the horror type things.
I think we're doing again what we do all the time, and that's we're giving these publishing companies credit for being fucking.
I think you'll find, Tony, I came up with it first.
Back to that.
Yeah.
But having sat at a number of meetings at a number of different comic companies, I can tell you there's some people there who, again, couldn't run a bath.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say, I absolutely love Greg Smallwood's work, and he's got a cover on the Cruel Universe. His artwork on that looks great. Because his artwork...
it's not an EC cover. It's much more painted. It's like a Warren magazine cover to me.
Yeah, it feels like totally the those creepy omnibuses.
Creepy and eerie,
yeah. It's totally that rather than.
See, that's people get massively confused between Warren and EC. They sometimes they think it's the same thing, and it's not.
Yeah.
Again, like the audience, what they're going for audience-wise, would they even recognise either one?
I almost think they're better off just trying to get a movie series, like the VHS movie horror series or something like that, which more people are going to click onto. Even it's not Final Destination's too old, but something similar to that.
Yeah. We'll finish this one off with the last bit in this article, which is a quote, which is from the actual sort of people, some of the people involved. As my father, William Gaines, said, only in the bounds of good taste. And I'm so excited to exhibit EC's good taste with Oni Press. Oh, gosh, that's cheesy, isn't it? Who have distinguished themselves with both an award-winning library of comics and graphic novels and a passionate understanding of EC's singular role in shaping comics history, said Kathy Gaines Mifsud in a statement. 70 years ago, EC Comics redefined what comics could be with shocking, confrontational, and brilliantly crafted stories that challenged the existential issues at the centre of American life. Censorship, racism, sexism.
Brilliant. More stuff.
Nuclear proliferation and more. Today, those battles continue in alarming and pernicious new ways, said Hahn. The thesaurus on this is amazing. So, what better time to resurrect the undying spirit of EC Comics? One of the most entertaining, subversive, and influential publishers of all time, with an all-star cast of storytellers to examine today's society through the lens that William Gaines and his legendary collaborators have left us. That's a statement that says a lot and also doesn't really say too much, does it?
Yeah,
I'm
there's a lot of
fucking
stuff.
zoned out in the middle of that
Yeah,
one.
A lot of stuff it does say that just totally turns me off. I just, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
You think you've had a definitive take on this, but wait till you read this. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
This will right all the
plus-
wrongs, reset all the ills. We all get on like a house on fire after you fucking present your case.
Yeah, as always.
I've been a miserable bastard there, but
as we did, as we said recently a few months ago about another title from a publisher, I want the best from this.
Totally.
I like
if this
it.
turns out to be EC Comics 2, I will not stop buying it.
Yeah. I hope those creators on the list surprise, entertain, blow our minds, do all of that, because we need these sort of comics need a shot in the arm. So hopefully this is the shot in the arm rather than an empty sugar fix that's just for marketing, which it currently, because of the way it's sort of all over loads of websites, kind of feels like a promo tool rather than So good luck to them all. Good luck to them all.
Next week I'm bringing back Charles Dickens' book series, so I think that'll go down well with today's youth.
Canterbury Tales.
Yeah.
So,
Nicholas Nickleby.
So before we move on with the show, obviously I read a lot of that shamelessly from someone else's article.
We don't get our original material, do we?
No. I mean, we're here to just basically read something, and then rant about it, and then hope that someone listens to us.
No, it works for everyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah, tits and terror.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, that brings us nicely round to my fucking subject.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Dan's subject, which is
I forgot we had another one.
Comics journalism. Won't go on it too long, but
yeah.
Let's see if I can remember the kind of points of kind of.
You were going about clickbait, weren't you? To a certain
essentially, we're kind of locked in this spiral now, and I see it a lot with comics journalism. Of the content of it doesn't matter so much as just getting people to click and interact with what you're putting up. That's.
I feel like there's a lot of
driver
AI going on with clickbait as well. A lot of chat GPT kind of stuff.
God, that is everywhere.
Mm.
The one I kind of like really savvy to nowadays is the rage bait stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, we'll put this up because people are interact with it, and they'll do something like, I think X actor should be the next Wolverine, and people are like, no, start arguing about it, but it's content just to elicit these reactions, and it's like, do we need this? Like, I mean, generally it's everywhere with kind of
we kind of always had it with the red tops in relation to stuff that wasn't comics, I guess, but
the proliferation of it now is ridiculous. And like comic book journalism, if you go onto any of the sites to try and read some stuff about it, 9 times out of 10 it's not about comics, and then it's just fucking pap. It's really just
my big beef with comics journalism is always one of two things. It's always everything is terrible or everything is brilliant.
Yeah,
and it's neither. And you're not helping by publishing either of those things.
No, it's so much more nuanced than kind of that. There's certain aspects of the industry are doing great, and certain they're doing really bad.
That's the terrible thing. I mean, I've shamelessly put clickbait titles on some of our episodes.
We do it because it makes us laugh.
Yeah, that does make us laugh. But also that fascinates me. that how this clickbait exists, because it is a thing. There must be someone reads something and goes, I mean, yes, we click, we see, and then feel ashamed and just think, why the fuck did I do that? But we still clicked.
Yeah.
Why did we click?
I guess it's keying into that FOMO and kind of like wanted to see what the story is behind the article. But I find just the content of some of the stuff that's been put up is just so vapid and just
I think it starts with porn. My theory is everything starts with porn.
It also ends. Yeah. It's the way we're all going to go out.
Yeah, but it's like, man delivers pizza, and guess what happens next? I wonder what happens next.
But there's like
the same.
Been articles recently. Yeah, they don't eat pizza. I'll tell you that.
They don't finish it.
That's just a waste.
That's a bit disappointing. It's like when I went to see Train Spotting and expected to see like
2 hours of good quality trains.
Yeah. And it's a load of Scottish people taking drugs. I mean,
and that man doing a poo in the bed.
Yeah, it's not a classic Train Spotters experience.
I mean, it has accelerated though, isn't it? It's got worse and worse and
it's
worse
getting
with
worse
the
and
internet.
worse.
And it's terrible. I mean, I got unreasonably fucking excited when someone posted something about angry rather. Someone posted something about how the bloke who was playing Harry Potter is going to be the new Wolverine, and I'm like, oh fuck, right off.
Yeah.
And then I think it was my Agnet said, oh, it's CBR, mate. Tony, don't fucking
CBR, Screen Rant. There's loads of it. Just like post up that shit.
For me, in terms of what we try to champion, like in Indian small press, one of the things that has irked me, which I think we've spoken about many times before, is when you see these sites and articles that are saying, "Oh, here's this new book," or here's an article about this, and they've just copied and pasted what someone has sent them in their bio.
In a press release.
They haven't.
I mean, I do that when we do research for our recommends and stuff. It's the same paragraph, all over the internet.
Yeah.
Just on loads of sites, and they've not bothered doing it.
Yeah.
It's. I saw somebody talking about this week. I can't remember who it was now, on some angry YouTube video where he said, "Look, it's come to it when, like, Bleeding Cool is almost the best source for stuff out there at the moment."
Yeah.
But who else is there?
And Rich Johnson even said himself, he's not a journalist; he's a propagandist.
And I hate to give him credit, but
that.
he also says that he doesn't do promo. I mean, to be fair, I think he may have started, but he won't cut and paste promo, which I think, please don't cut and paste promo.
Don't, yeah.
I mean, if someone sends us something, we might read a bit of promo on the shouts, but if it's a comic, we apply ourselves to that comic. We don't just read out.
Man, I
read out the synopsis a lot of the time, but that's basically
that's fine.
That's at the start of it, isn't it? Yeah.
But I've sent out like press release stuff, and then they've just had copied and pasted press release reviews in every single image, and it's just like,
and
what is the world gaining by this?
Also it does nothing for all of the creators. Like, there are lots of people out there, hardworking creators, that are trying to craft these things to have all the right info and then they just see it, they get nothing from it. It's like, you're trying to put this stuff out so it gets some traction, whereas people just, copy paste, or they'll just fucking ignore it, because that's an uphill struggle by itself. Just for people to...
The other thing that we've mentioned way before is like keying into drama and online personalities arguing. There's like, so and so said this about this character or this comic, and it's like, okay,
no, I don't care. I actively ignore any article that includes screenshots of tweets in it.
Yeah,
that's fucking the laziest thing in the world.
Yeah, screenshotting tweets and linking back to it and saying, and then they said this. It's like, it's just a stream of consciousness. But there's a couple of articles I've read, and I was like, what is the point of this? It's not bringing it forward anything. It's just kind of like go and have the same stuff. Just move on.
It's just the Ouroboros of arguing in an empty room. Twitter at the moment. I mean, I say it regularly. Get off social media, guys. It's not helping anyone.
I'm still fucking on Twitter. I don't know.
No, you keep saying you're coming off, don't you? And then,
you can follow us at the Awesome Pod and on Instagram. Awesome Pod.
To be fair, all we really use our Twitter for is promoting this and what new comic we've got out, really.
Or if we see a beautiful piece of art or some positive comics positivity, retweet it.
To be fair, I do follow the Sooty and Sweep Twitter account, and I repost that quite a lot.
Fair play.
I'm a big, I'm a fan of that.
Absolute banging content. That's what the internet was made for. But I mean, this is a segue, but it's stuff that brings joy. I'm fucking, it's like, let's read some stuff that gets us excited about comics. Let's, one of the reasons that I stay on social media is if I scroll, I rarely post, but I'll scroll through waiting for that piece of art that's going to get me into another creator or discover another book. It becomes rarer. It does become.
It's more common on Instagram for me now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
There was a chap talking about a young creator talking about their book, and I said, like, send it over to me, and I've taken a look, and I'm going to get back to him with some feedback on like what I think they could improve on it, because they've yet to release it. And there's a couple of things I say, try considering this or try doing that, because what you're doing at the moment is fine, but you could do it better. And I'll see how they react. I mean, if you send something in for a bit of feedback.
I mean, if you're asking for us to talk about your book, then we will talk about it.
Happy to provide feedback.
Be nice about it. But if the prime example of that, man, is always the blindness of Billy Scott. When it came to us, we said to Avery Hill, lettering's a bit small, guys. Yeah. And they went away and changed the lettering. And I thought, well, I'm glad they're probably glad someone's pointing it out to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't do that in a horrible way. We just did it because they're our mates. Yeah.
No. And the last thing any independent creator, anyone wants to see, is for a book to go out and then they hear people saying, well, this was very good on this. And you'd be like, what the fuck?
Although I did do my only ever one-word review this week, didn't I? I sent it to you.
Remind me what the review...
It just said, "your."
Okay.
Oh,
yeah. That was a good one. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. But you can find that clickbaity review on. No,
don't want to bang on too much about the journalism stuff, but I just find it really fucking. Sometimes it gets to me, man. I'm just like, oh fuck's sake.
Journalism, they seem to be not doing it for the ethics of journalism anymore. They just seem to be doing it to be in with the crowd, get free comics, be cool, get clicks to their website. It's not about applying yourself to journalism anymore.
I'd love to see, and this is a product that couldn't exist in the real world because there would be no market for it, and etc. etc. But sometimes you get high-end magazines of things like Edge, which is a video game magazine, which is very much styled. You look at that, you've probably seen it in your WH Smiths or
man.
And that is a beautiful looking magazine. It's sort of designed. Do you know what I mean? It goes beyond the whole. Here, you get free stuff with this. It's like their articles, big articles, interviews, and I haven't read it for a long time, but that is about the medium. I'd love a magazine that would be...
Panel to panel used to be a bit like that, didn't it? I think.
Yeah.
It's like Sight and Sound, but for comics is the way I look at it. Sight and Sound is a proper applies themselves to things.
Yeah. And having a proper sort of interview that's a genuine several pages, but not just let's talk about your new book, but talk about the medium, talk about all of this, some fascinating highlights, showcasing some veteran creators.
I mean, that's what we're trying to do. Has the magazine moved on to podcasts and YouTube shows and stuff like that?
I mean, I would have said probably 10 years ago maybe that that sort of magazine and online articles are best for it. But as we've just talked about, it's not anymore. Do you know what I mean? And is there a place
TikTok
for
brain?
Is there a place, and I don't think there is, for a website, for instance, an online magazine to be that in depth? Could you do it? Could you maybe not crowdfund, but could you do a Patreon for running a high end journalistic?
Comic Scene try it, don't they? I think Comic Scene do it a bit. Yeah, it'd be nice.
Yeah, but also then, I mean, for all the will in the world to create the thing, but then you got to get it out in the world. And as we
it's the marketing's 2/3 of the fucking battle.
It's the quote that I attributed to Cavan Scott, and I don't think he remembered saying it, but so it may have been someone else. But it's podcast the new fanzine.
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah, in a way, not completely, because you can actually see things in a fanzine, but you can't in podcasts. But yeah,
totally. Interesting times as always, and we
got a little bit moany, a little bit ranty, but
we did, didn't we? Yeah,
sometimes it happens.
But now
I'm still on my scale of 1 to 100. I'm about 10 now.
Oh yeah, okay, man.
Always.
We didn't dial it up at all in this episode.
No, I mean what I was talking about earlier. But I'm never at 0. Do you remember when I said?
Yeah.
Oh really? Really?
Never at 0, mate. Never.
Really?
I'm always good to go.
It's always blood in the sausage.
You clap your hands twice, I'll be ready now. I'll tell you now.
I ain't clapping.
Why, Dan? Why did you say that?
I thought that was like a kind of a challenge, as it were. And
I was like, is it when
I wasn't going to rise to the challenge?
Is it Zach and Miri get married and Jay from Jay and Silent Bob goes, "Watch this, not touching it, not touching it. Look at it, look, it's going up." You remember? Have you seen that? So I think you should maybe text me tomorrow, just say, because I'm on a long drive tomorrow.
Clap.
Where are you 1 to 100? What number?
Yeah. I think that's
never 0, my friend.
I mean, I think you are.
I could be asleep and it wouldn't be 0.
You do want to clarify that, Tony? Are you just talking to us because you know an awful lot of people that listen to this podcast?
Yeah, everyone who's got my phone number, text me tomorrow. I've got the Irish lady on my sat nav voice. It said text from Vincenzo Hunt. What number, mate?
What does it say when I send you an emoji?
it does describe what the emoji is.
Really?
Okay.
Because
I've got the Irish lady because it's the same as the lady in the Iron Man armor. She's Irish, isn't she?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got eggplant splashing water emoji.
Because I remember I rinsed you once when you were in the car with your son and I was sending you emojis. I can't remember what it was now. But...
yeah.
On the wind up.
Yeah.
Well, when I'm sitting in the car,
because I knew it would be said out loud.
when I got the message, she goes, "Another message from ACP Sexy," which is our little chat group.
ACP. You got any podcasts locked in for the Drive T? Earth 2?
Yeah, I've got Earth 2. I've got the new V for Vendetta Mega City Book Club ready to go. EOC, I've done all the EOC ones actually. There's Everything Comes Back 2018. I'm listening to the second part of that, the Pat interview.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, a few. Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Nice.
I've got a few. Yeah.
Wow. What else do we have to shout out, gents?
Ooh. I've only got a couple. So, Slacker Cole Henley. That's not a relationship. That's not a description of his personality. He is on the Slack. Cole Henley. He's raising money for a local hospice. If you find him on Slack, or you can find him on X at Cole007, he'll do you a Star Wars sketch if you can prove that you've donated over a certain amount to the charity, which you'll find on his
There you go. Awesome.
X
That's
or
great.
on the Slack. I donated some money. He's doing a Star Wars sketch. I showed you this, didn't I, guys? Did I show you this? I donated some money, and he said, "Do you want a sketch?" I said, "I don't really like Star Wars. Don't worry about it. I'll just donate some money." And he sent me a sketch through the post. I said, "Who's this from?" Opening up, it's a picture of a decapitated arm doing that, and it says, Star Wars doesn't like you either." He's written on it. How good is that?
I'm not big enough Star Wars nerd to know the name of that alien that gets his arm chopped off by Obi-Wan
No, me
Kenobi.
neither. Yeah, me neither. Yeah. And then my only other one is thanks to everyone who bought a copy of Cockney Kung Fu. Profits have now been sent off to M.I.N.D. Big thank to you, everyone. So the after the artist, the print costs, and the designer, Paul Sausage and Nick Prolix, everything else has gone to M.I.N.D. So there you go.
The mighty Prolix has picked up the pen again.
I know. I've just seen that he's got another comic. He's sort of diary comic thing he's doing, isn't he? Yeah.
It's good. Like the old gunslinger slapping on the tool belt.
Yeah.
And it's like still fucking sharp as ever, man.
Yeah. It's good to see that. Good to see that. What shout outs you got, Dan?
Lawless 2024. 25th, 26th of May, massive guest list, lawlesscomiccon.co.uk. Go check that one out. We've got Clockwork Werewolves, gothic steampunk horror. Classic horror meets a steampunk style as paranormal investigator faces the Clockwork Werewolves. And that's from our friends Hellbound Media.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that was going. We've got about 8 days to go. They've sailed past their goal. Go check that one out.
They know what they're doing. They're so good.
The Pleasant Life comic series by Adam Talley. An indie comic series is about nerds, relationships, and finding your place in the world. So that needs a little bit of love on the Kickstarter. We've got from Shane Chesbey, Fully Loaded by Jimmy Broxton. There Goes the Future. Blade Runner meets Sin City in a neo-noir cyberpunk crime thriller. Art to Die For, a story to kill for, and a shattering finale you wouldn't see coming in 100 years. And got a quote from Mark Millar. Do you want to hear it? "Holy shit, this looks incredible." So that's screened past his total. And it's got 26 days left. So that's on Zoop. So go check it out. Zoop, Fully Loaded on Zoop. They've got an absolute bunch of stuff in there. It looks fantastic. We've got The Guys. With great power comes little to no responsibility. The Guys is the funniest, scariest comic called The Guys you'll ever read. Again, that's heading towards its target. We're going to have 2 weeks on that one. And lastly, but not leastly, we've got from Dave Hingley, Windbreaker, a spy comedy comic for all ages. A4, 32-page, full-color, all ages comic featuring John Sterling, special agent of Snoop.
Is that out now, is it?
No, it's yet to release, so you can do that
landing
project
page
thing.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's saved.
Cool.
And that's all for me for the shout-outs.
Well done.
Nice. Time to
Got through
recommend some. Got through it. Well done, Dan.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
Did it.
I said that to some bloke at work. I don't know if I've told you this. You've met Johnny T's mate, haven't you? You remember Johnny T's mate?
Yes.
I was sat next to him once and he was doing something for me and I went, "I'm proud of you, Johnny T's mate." And he went, "Really?" And every time I see him, he goes, "Do you remember that time you told me how proud you were?"
Proud.
I go, "Yeah, I do, and I still am."
Say something about being proud now. What do you mean? Proud like a man's member. Don't want to give you ideas. Sorry, that's his Alan Partridge. It's the Christmas special when he's got the Fanny, whatever her name is, on there.
At some point during this show, there is bound to be an Alan Partridge
reference. Yeah.
And as always, there's
second one we sorted out monkeys playing tennis earlier, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there is also bound to be a recommendations section of the show. So without further ado, Tony, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, my first one, Night Cruising by Harry Nordlinger.
Published by
Floating World Comics. Actually very reasonably priced, £6. It's all right. That's good for £6. Slightly oversized.
Oh man, that's great.
Nice.
Yeah. £6.
Love
Good.
stuff.
I got mine in Gosh. I was going to say this reminds me of the old days of underground comics when they felt a little more dangerous back then. And this is a lost knight in a dangerous place with an unlikable character and despicable character in many ways. Nice 2-color split screen, 70s feeling cool cover. And the back of a Pontiac and the view of the sort of nighttime LA freeways from overhead from like a helicopter view, which I really liked, sort of Spaghetti Junction thing. It opens on that overhead view inside as well, in the freeways of California, and it drills slowly down into an overhead view of a car driving at night along a suburban, just residential houses road, and then it pulls up at a house, and a pretty blonde girl gets out, and she thanks the driver for taking her to the cinema, and he's a sort of typical black leather jacket, sunglasses at night, long blonde hair, and his name's Ricky. And they seem to have had like a nice night. And then in a single page 3-panel, like a horizontal panel, he takes his sunglasses off and he winks at her, and you think, this dude's fucking wrong. And this dude's wrong. Okay, yeah. And sure enough, Rick vrooms off, as the sound effect says, to the bad side of town, immediately picks up a prostitute. Prostitute gets in, who looks remarkably like the girl he's just dropped off, actually, funny enough. And she says, what do you want to do? What are you into? And he says, I'm into chain fighting. I don't know what chain fighting is. Do you? Is that a thing? I don't know what chain fighting is.
Presume grab a chain and fight people with it.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they cruise around
great.
a bit. Yeah, I'll do it. Give it a go at the weekends. They cruise around a bit, and Ricky complains about a headache he had because he got hit across the head with a baseball bat at one point. And they pull up at this all-night diner, and he says he tells the hooker to stay in the car, and he goes in the diner, and he meets this old bloke. And they begin, because Ricky's becoming more and more despicable. We realise he's this horrific person, And this old bloke starts telling about how he kicked. I think he might have killed this gay dude. Watch his teeth fly out and all this sort of thing. You think, where's this fucking going? And then he says, I got you what you wanted. He lays on the table 3 they look like Polaroids of a dismembered girl with all of her guts hanging out. And Ricky's going like, fucking hell, these are brilliant. Where'd you get that from? And honestly, that's nothing for this comic. It just gets worse and worse. We get LSD use, shotguns, home invasions, but it's not overcomplicated. It's just this like night that just gets worse and worse and worse. And you watch this guy called Ricky just become fucking this horrific sort of almost demon of a bloke who just goes on an absolute bender after taking this girl home, and then it just gets worse and worse. Dirtily refreshing. I've written here. It's like
I'm interested to know how it plays out, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone who might pick it up. So tell me after the show.
It doesn't end well for everyone. I'll be honest with you. I'm just trying to see what the last page is. I mean, that's the last page. So there's a poetry to it. We go back to that.
Yeah,
again.
back to
the sort of motorway. But there's I've written my note here. It's like stray bullets on meth. That's how I've described it. Quite an experience. I recommend you follow Harry on Instagram at Harry Nordlinger. He's a San Francisco-based comic maker, and currently he's posting these fucking really weird black and white Simpsons comics called just strange, dark, strange, called Shadows Over Springfield. And one of them has got Homer sort of just wandering about in this black and white, wandering about in his house, looking weird. And then he walks out of the kitchen, and you realise hanging in the kitchen is a noose. And so it's just like, this is how they should be. This is how I want them to be.
I was wondering how much parody you can get away with, because like I saw that comic on Twitter, like Alfred shags his way through the DCU.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't, what's the legalities here? Like,
isn't that a DC comic?
No.
No.
No. Okay.
No. But I want to read it.
Yeah.
There's
So
a
it
lot
can't
of,
be a DC comic.
there's a lot of bootleg comics out there at the moment. It's quite a thing, you know.
Yeah, okay.
There's a Ghost Rider I got the other day. Eddie gave me. There's you only got to look at Josh Bayer's Rom comics. There's like that Batman one, you know, where he's wanking. That one. There's a lot of bootleg comics out there using these characters. So I can only guess they haven't got the time or the money or the ability or the people to go after these people.
This
Sometimes,
seems to just get a popular character and have them doing something like degenerate behaviour, and then you can just fucking print money, which is fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm game. I'll do it.
But
I did that
it's the
Silver
whole
Surfer
parody
comic, didn't
thing.
I?
Yeah.
It's that whole parody
But yours
thing,
was,
isn't it?
yours
Parody
was a
and
legit
satire.
comic, T.
Yeah, we tried to keep in me and Dave Brown tried to keep in the sense of it. Big shout to Dave, by the way. I like Dave, yeah. But yeah, so you can go over to vacuumdecay.com and have a look at some of his other titles. Or you
Great
can,
title.
the Shadows Over Springfield is the OA, the original art for that is available on there as well, and it's fucking dark.
Homer hanging himself.
Like fucking, I mean, I almost feel like Simpsons is everything has been done around the Simpsons. It's done, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the days are gone when I would watch an episode. If I see it's on, I like flip to the next channel. It's just, you know, every toy, every fucking possible thing that could be done with the Simpsons. There's got to be Simpsons porn out there. You know, it's been done. But this just, I liked it. I thought it was really good. Yeah, so go and look him up on Instagram. So again, it's Harry Nordlinger. Find him on Instagram. It's good stuff. Yeah. There you go.
I had my idea for my He-Man comic.
Oh, yeah.
Where He-Man and Skeletor, like they're gym buddies, and they go to the gym together like in the morning. And they're like talking like mates. So I'm getting a problem with Teela, whatever, and they're spotting each other and doing all work. And then he's like, "I'll see you later, Skeletor." He's, "Yeah, see you later, He-Man." And then it cuts to them having like just a generic battle in Eternia, and it's their kind of their life as their gym bros on the time off. When they get to sort of scrap it up, they play up the He-Man and Skeletor roles. But it's like,
right.
again, another
Just for
fucking
clicks.
comic. Another fucking comic I'm never going to be able to get time to.
I mean, honestly, I do stuff like that because you've only got to look at stuff like the Cats comic. Do you remember? We loved that.
Yeah.
The Cats movie, Cats Bumhole, whatever it was.
Oh yeah,
Edit.
Matt Simmons works.
Yeah.
Oh, he keeps on putting out some fucking bangers, Matt.
Yeah.
Like, it's following on Instagram. I can't quite remember his Instagram handle, but if you search up Matt Sims, he definitely follows
Is it Share Freak on
Share Freak? Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I like his stuff. He messages this week actually from
Yeah.
There you go. Good stuff. Who's next?
Okay. I'll jump in next. Just a quick one. My issue one is one that Tony mentioned a couple of times on the show, I think, in the past. I finally got around to reading issue one, which then led to the next 3 issues being read of Vampire State Building.
Oh, yeah.
This is Ablaze Comics, which is another publisher that I always get them in AWA kind of mixed
Yeah, me
up.
too, massively. Yeah, so Ablaze are the people who do a lot of European stuff. They did the Sumerian.
Yes,
book
that's
as well.
that's what I know them from. Yeah. This is, the writers are Ange and Patrick Renault, the interior artist Charlie Adlard, who some of you may have heard of, colorist Sebastian Gerard, editor Rich Young, and Jean Vaquette. This seems to be quite a few sort of. I don't want to presume, but I think maybe some French creators there, possibly.
Okay.
But this is, I mean, I've wanted to read this for a while anyway, purely because the name is epically simple. We were talking about some brilliant drop the mic sort of pitches. You say Vampire State Building, and I'm like, right, okay, I'm reading it, I'm watching it.
And that is what it is as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's totally what it is. Because as it says in this synopsis that I'm just going to clickbaity and just read word for word, verbatim, it's...
Right, Rich.
Get ready to be bitten from the first full-colour page. Terry Fisher is a young soldier on the verge of being sent away for active military duty and is going to meet his friends at the top of the Empire State Building for a farewell party. But suddenly a legion of vampires attacks the skyscraper and massacres its occupants. Hounded in the 102 floors that have become a deadly trap, Terry must make decisive action to save himself and his friends and the city of New York before the army of abominations and the terrible vampire god within, walled in the building since its construction, spill into the city. Which kind of tells you everything. I mean, I read it without knowing any of that, so sorry if it spoiled anything for you. But this is just a mashup of lots of things that I kind of like. You know, you've got that classic trapped in one
Die
particular.
Hard.
Yeah, you got that Die Hard. You know, Assault on Precinct 13, you know, that sort of all of those trapped within a certain place with the monsters, aliens. There's so many different things going on, but also I see elements of the Strain, because there is a bit of a bigger story with the vampire god in the background. Basically on I think it's the 75th floor of the building, there is a floor where there's like a pit. One of the structures they've found there was something in it. There was like a metal door within it, and it's about to be opened. And of course, then vampires get in the building, and it just all kicks off from there. And it gave me, I mean, it's popcorn comics, isn't it, Tony? You can it's easy to read,
good fun read.
It did the first like 10 or so pages of like character establishment were a little bit slow to begin with. Once it picks up speed, it gets going. One of the problems I had with the beginning is some of that character establishment is redundant because of what happens to some of those characters within that are in those first 10 pages. You get introduced to a lot of characters who are immediately fodder. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like,
you got to kind of build them up to knock them down, kind of thing.
But there was a sense of like, oh, so they're gone then. Do you know what I mean? Okay. There's you know, dramatically, there's no, you know, they don't really go out in a certain way, but the story builds and builds and builds to the point where I was like, how are they getting out of this? And that's a good sign that it's going in the right direction. Adlar's work in this, we're so used to him from a certain book that will go unnamed, but he's coloured in this, and it
feels like tighter as well. His artwork feels a bit tighter for me.
Yeah,
maybe he's drawn it to suit colour, which is what he wasn't doing.
I think, I think so. And there's the colour as well throughout the book, because a lot of it is also based around times of day and just the lighting and the effect, like the sun going up and the sun going down. And the colorist does a wonderful sort of, because colour adds so much tension to a horror story, doesn't it? And action and, like, you know, there's different tones. So yeah, just completely on point. A very, I must say, going into it, I had part of me thought, is this just going to be another sort of 30 Days a Night rip-off? Does that make sense? It was like, are we just going to be playing that record that Indie Comics has been doing for a little while? This does something a bit different, I will say. The actual sort of design of the vampires, it's weird, like how Adlar draws them. Like sometimes you don't just see their teeth, it's almost like their mouth is sort of torn. It's hard to explain, but the sort of thing that can only be done in comics, which is why I really like it.
Yeah, there's nothing groundbreaking in it, but it's just well executed, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
Yeah.
It was kind of what I wanted. So, and I think, certainly by issue 2, it builds up to the point of, it kicks off around, I think, the 2/3 of the way through the first issue.
Yeah.
And once it does that, it continues that pace for the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it almost took longer to kick off than I thought it would for a shortish series, I think. Yeah.
But
where did you read this, V?
I read this on Global Comics.
Global
Comics, yeah. There is a really cool thing I like. It's a bit of a spoiler for later on in the book. But they replace all the water in the sprinklers in the Empire State Building with gasoline.
Okay.
That is, because that's a fascinating tension piece, because you understand why they're doing it from the outside. Because you do have the characters surviving inside, and you have the fire department and the police and everything trying to figure out to deal with what is essentially, it's almost has that feel of like a hostage situation, like a terrorist taker. You know, that's like they're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on in there. So there's lots of different layers to this. You know, part Die Hard, part fucking aliens, all kinds of stuff. Vampire State Building is well worth checking out if you just want. It's a quick read as well once it gets going. Really quick read. So yeah, high recommendation for me. Cool. So there you go. Dan, what have you
Sounds great. I've got Skullmasher, which I found on Global Comics. I saw the cover and I was like, I'm going to have some of this. Written by Jason G. Mikalski, I think. Chuck Malley, letterer, and Sebastian Salo as the artist. It kind of reminds me a bit Sin City-esque. I'll read you the description. It's a free one on Global Comics, so even if you've not got a paid subscription, you can actually read it on there. All hell breaks loose in Granite City when Skullmasher goes on a revenge-fueled rampage looking for the corrupt boxing promoter who cost him his championship belt. The Overhill boxer finds himself behind the 8 ball when he comes face to face with ninjas, robots, and the new heavyweight champion, Harry Hellthrower. Will Skullmasher defy the odds and regain his title? Will he learn there's more to life than being a champ? See, I went into it and I didn't read that synopsis. So when like robots and ninjas turned up, I was like, but it starts off with kind of like the main character, who is Skullmasher. He doesn't become Skullmasher until a fair way into the book. It starts off like a kind of a prison drama where he gets paid to take a dive in a fight, in a boxing fight, and they've said, well, basically the only reason you're here and got this far is because we paid you. And it's like, no, I'm the champ. And he's not kind of the most intelligent fucking guy around, but he's an absolute fucking unit. And he's called Skullmasher because he can make people's heads explode when he gives them a single punch to their brain.
I've just seen the page, Dan.
It cuts to where he's in the ring and he uppercuts like the guy he's supposed to take fully, and his head detonates. And then he's put in prison. It becomes a prison drama where he's sort of like, all these people are coming at him and he's like, I ain't taking a dive, I'm a champ. No one's can't fucking take that away from me. And it sort of goes absolutely nuts in there when there's a breakout that a young girl who's like an orphan who's like after the same crime boss says, look, now you can be a superhero and I'll be your sidekick. And he becomes the Skullmasher and starts hitting the streets and fighting. But yeah, people dying all over the shop. It's very silly, very fun. I thought it was going to be more Sin City-esque, but
the art's great as well.
I
love
it's definitely playing on the noir stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's got almost like an animated feel to it as well. The artwork, it's great.
Yeah, I just blitzed through it. I was like, this is a real,
this is quite
real
good.
fun
Yeah.
read.
I don't think the cover does it credit.
No.
I think you need to sort the cover out a bit, because if I knew that was what was inside it, I'd be all over this. But the cover is a little underwhelming.
It doesn't sell what the kind of the stuff you're going to be getting in the.
I know the insides are black and white, but a lot of insides of comics are black and white. He should have gone with the full color.
Gone for like a crazy ass cover on it,
or even just have black and white, but the blood that's all over those gloves on the cover.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Leaning into that.
And like the main bad guy, one of his henchmen is like a robot he built out of the back of a comic book that he paid 50 cents for.
All right, cool.
He's like one of his henchmen.
We do need to do a comic where the villains are sea monkeys, don't we? That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or he sent away for the Charles Atlas bodybuilding plan and become an absolute.
That's been
They've
done.
already done
Did
that. Luther Strode.
Of course, yeah.
That's a great plot line. I had a real fun read. So you can, even if you're not subscribed to Comic House, you can go and check this one out because I thought it was really fun. Great read.
Yeah, cool. Nice. Tony, take us home.
My second one is The Realist, Last Day on Earth by Asaf Hanukkah.
Yes.
I didn't realise that, mind you, how long we've been going now? You reckon you reviewed this about 4 or 5 years ago? Yeah. I'd forgotten you'd done this, mate. Apologies.
More people. Well, look, we've had some new listeners since then, and more people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
brilliant book.
I know. I put it on the Slack, and I think the PSD was like, "This is good." So it's produced over in this country by Archaea Entertainment. I've described it as realism meets suburban surrealism. There's a little bit of both in there. It's a collection from a weekly short auto biocomics put out by the Israeli creator Asaf Hanukkah. He's based in Tel Aviv. And there's also a BD translation. I'm sure I saw the cover at an Angoulême, or maybe sent to us by Europe Comics or something like that. I'd seen it for so many years, and I'm ashamed of myself for not having read it because it is brilliant. I really, really enjoyed this. The description I found said that the Archaea version is 2 of the pre-existing French collections. So I know you said there's 2 Archaea collections. So I'm not sure what Global Comics have done, whether they put it all in one, or I'm waiting for the second one to come out. You see what I mean? Before it was even in the Bond SNA version, it was in the Israeli newspaper, The Calculist. Hanukkah's probably better known in the world of animation because he worked on the Oscar-winning animation film Waltz with Bashir, if you remember that one. Again, it's another book that takes me back to the glory days of autobio comics this time, where the creator has a real, genuine voice. He's a flawed individual. He's not afraid to say that, unlike a lot of autobi comics we see these days. He's also very idiosyncratic voice. I'm going to compare him to a more reasonable version of Harvey Pekar, where Harvey Pekar was this like sweary, angry man, who was prone to flights of fancy. I kind of see him a little bit in that same. It would be in the same shelf in the library for me, that sort of thing. But what he does is Asaf adds to the mix of the sort of toils and pitfalls of his married life with his family, with these experimental and trippy surreal imagery that he uses throughout it. For example, when he doesn't go well for him when he tries to get a mortgage, his head becomes the cloud above a nuclear explosion, and it's the balance between this sort of surrealist, almost often psychedelic nightmare fuel but also with him trying to babysit his kid who's been a nightmare. And he tries to balance his fancy life with his life as an animator and illustrator and sometimes teacher, and sometimes it seems almost fantastically a trial on him. For example, he takes his car to be fixed in the garage, as we all know. They just they produce a Hoover, don't they, to hoover out your wallet when you take a car in. And when they lift the bonnet of the car, it's not an engine, but it's blood and guts spilling out from the engine block. It's like really lovely, full color, like beautifully drawn, beautifully colored. And the mechanic is saying to him, "We did everything we could," as if to say, "Your car has died," like it was a human being. We also get a little tour around Tel Aviv and where people shop, and there's a little bit of a cultural. I learned something about shopping in Israel, for example, about this. We also see a real genuine life, a real genuine emotional life of him as well. And he's trying to support his family. He's trying to keep working. And there's this beautiful page. It's one of the ones I put on the Slack where he just puts his face in to have a look at his son, and the light from the hallway when he opens the door to make sure his son's okay in his room. You see his shadow illuminated within the light into the room. Beautiful. I
think he's one of the best artists out there.
Yeah, I mean,
since I've seen this book, like what he does. I mean, there's the wonderful auto-bio sort of strips that are like a one page.
Yeah,
but and it's, I don't want to undersell this, but there are one pages that are deeply affecting.
Yeah,
like, because I think it like you say, Tony, it highlights like a culture and a life that you're not aware of. And he'll, like, it's almost political. There's political cartooning going on in there, but in a way that really sort of translates
real emotional content as well. Yeah, there's a lot of these single pages, not you think, B, but there's a lot of single page. He uses a lot of single page splashes, which could almost be like New Yorker covers.
Yeah,
for some of them, that sort of thing.
I'm going to show Dan one right now. Carry on, Tony, as I do.
Okay.
This.
Oh, when you're showing, isn't that
nice.
great?
Yeah, that's
really nice. There is a poignancy. There is. Everyone will go, "Oh, Daniel Klaus." That's what everyone will go. But I think he's warmer. There's a coldness to Klaus's cartoons sometimes, and a sharp coldness to a lot of Klaus's characters. But in this, there's more of a family man, more of a warmness to this in a different way. And he does pay homage to other comics. There's a great scene where it's a strip throughout the page, and he's sort of describing how he has to have all these skills to look after his son, who's like running around like a crazy kid, Terrible Two sort of thing. And he has all the powers of the Fantastic Four, so he has to be invisible. He has to have like Mr. Fantastic's power to stretch and get things. Yeah. It's just like this lovely little page of stuff. There's one bit where his wife leaves him by deleting an app on her phone that is his face, and I thought that's one of the cleverest things. We live our lives in the devil's window, don't we? These days?
Totally.
And that's going to happen in the future. You're going to have an app on your phone that is your partner. It's going to happen, isn't it? Really clever stuff. It's a massive 10 out of 10 for me, this one.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, man. I need to get the hardcovers for this one as well, like you got, V.
Yeah, beautiful.
Big read.
Archaea does really good collected.
Yeah, the Jodorowsky Cowboy Western books they did as well, which are also on the app, are great as well. But you can just jump in and out of it. It's not as if you have to read it all. You can jump in and read pages here and there. And it's how you do auto-bio and like make it interesting.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my second one. There you go, guys.
Yeah, real
that sounds awesome.
There's real nice humour in there as well. And there's laugh out loud moments, and then all of a sudden you're just like, my God, wow.
Yeah. You learn something a bit about the culture as well. You know.
Yeah. Comics can do so much.
Yeah, man.
And
great medium.
Yeah. This show can only do so much
best.
in the time that we've got, but we hope you have enjoyed this week's episode, because we've enjoyed getting the soapboxes out, maybe starting discussions, maybe dropping the mic on a couple, who knows, but certainly there's some fantastic books for you to go forth into your week and read and recommend to others, because that's how these books grow, by gaining a reputation.
We might have to start a bloody global comics thread in the Slack, just so people can drop recommends links in there.
The Slack, of
what we
course.
read.
Yeah, the Slack. Once again, just a shout out to that. If you want to join the Awesome Comics Podcast official Slack, I'm going to call it official because it is. It's weird saying official because it makes us sound like we're a company or something. We're just.
I love it when people do like their Twitter account. This is my official Twitter account.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want to get that confused.
Yeah, we're just three ding
Robert's
dongs.
official account.
Yeah, we're just three ding dongs who talk on a Sunday night about comics. But no, the Slack group. Join us. That sounds like I'm a pod person.
Join us.
But there's a wonderful community of people on there. And there's lots of other different ways you can get in touch with us as well to talk about the show or what you want to hear further going forward. You can email us, awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. On X, we're at the Awesome Pod. And on Instagram, we're at Awesome Comics Pod. So follow us on there, as we'll be shouting out just whether it's stuff we talked about on the show or stuff that you should be checking out. All about the positivity. Thank you for listening to us, whether it was on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, leave a nice review, and just helps get the word out about the show. Algorithms and all that nonsense. I don't know how it all works, but
really appreciate retweets and sharing,
telling your friends,
just spreading the word about the show. If you enjoyed the particular week or episode, and it could be anything because it's not like we're a news show per se. But, just tell your mates. And also, if they listen on Spotify, you can leave a review on there as well. So it helps get the word out about the show and everything we talk about on a weekly basis. And if you listen to us on Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife, what other networks are we on, Tony?
On the other pod network, this is a public announcement. The Erectile Dysfunction Group has been cancelled for this Tuesday. Nobody could come.
I can look at the disgust on Vince's face when we do it like in the video format.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's an extra.
Just
letting everyone know.
Yeah. Oh, well. I mean,
rise to the occasion.
Perhaps we'll have to do screenshots of what me and what a couple of us
15.
Look like. Yeah. We'll see. But where can people find us online, etc.? Tony?
Not at the dysfunctional penis group this week.
As previously discussed.
Yeah. neveronanything.com.
Nice. What level are you at the moment?
35 now.
Cool. Dan,
where can people find... I thought we went 1 to 10.
Hold on.
No,
it's 1 to 100. Yeah.
Okay.
Where can people find you, Dan?
You can find me on Twitter, aka X. At Vanguard Comic.
I love the fact we can see him now and he's doing all this work, isn't he?
You can read
the handwork. Yeah.
Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com. I'm currently updating issue 22 and I've uploaded the first 10, 11 on Global Comics, so you can read it on there too.
Nice.
You've even had some money through.
Yeah.
Man, the fucking money I get for I can fucking retire on this. I'm looking forward to this.
Nice. Tony, what level are you at now?
43.
Nice. You can find me on social media at Just the Diablo.
48.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone, wherever you are in the world and whenever you listen to this. And if you're from another planet, welcome. Just wipe us all out because we don't deserve this place.
Do us now.
Just absolutely do us. But and read some of the comics that are left over. But wherever you are, we hope you're happy, healthy, reading comics that make you happy, making comics that make you happy, and just sharing the love of comics because that's how we keep the medium alive. So for the last time this week, from Dan, Tony, and myself, have a brilliant week. Read loads of comics, make loads of comics, and because they're on video, they can actually, hopefully, what do they do, guys?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
Oh God! Right, I'm at 52.
Full on shot.
Wow.
I shot up. You heard. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya. I waved to the camera.
Why did you wave?
Fucking hell, that is embarrassing.